Well, Scott Leffler says he is sick to his stomach after the way the BG Falcons lost this past weekend. So we welcome in Michael Burwell from the Toledo Blade. And Michael, as much as we can talk about coulda, shoulda, wouldas, the fact of the matter is this Falcon team is 1-3.
Yeah, just another devastating loss, another single-digit, one-score loss, and it came in with 24 seconds left when Old Dominion scored the game-winning touchdown run. I think a 75-yard drive that took just over 2 minutes, and just not the effort defensively that BG needed, not the effort overall that BG wanted. You know, Scott Leffler mentioned there are some players who maybe weren't as focused as they needed to be, and that made a huge difference, obviously. You know, called the loss a wake-up call, and, you know, it's kind of interesting to think, you know, they're 4 big plays away from being 4-0 right now, and they're 1-3. That's an enormous difference.
And I think the concern is losing can become a habit. You've lost 3 in a row, and as you said, just a couple plays away from being 4-0. How do you stop that slide? Because now you're entering into MAC play. While theoretically the competition is going to be closer to the Falcons, it's not going to be any less intense going up against the MAC schools.
Right, for sure. I mean, every MAC game is going to be a battle no matter what. I mean, Leffler says it all the time. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You're gonna be tested, and I think that's how they have to approach each week. It really doesn't matter who they play. In Akron, obviously, you know, they're struggling. You know, they're 1-4 this season. They've played a ridiculous schedule to start the year, so kind of similar to BG in that regard. But there's just been different opportunities in these games during this 3-game losing streak where BG either should have put a team away or at least gotten themselves in better position. Against Old Dominion, Harold Fannin makes an unbelievable touchdown catch. In the third quarter, they go up by 4 points. Old Dominion starting quarterback is taken out of the game, backup comes in. BG has golden opportunities to add to that lead, and they can't do it. That's huge. Texas A&M was a similar scenario when they couldn't score off the blocked punt, where they could have taken the lead in the third quarter. It's just every possession of the game is so meaningful, and you're kind of finding out, you know, in these close games just how meaningful they are, especially in the second half. Turnovers have been big in the fourth quarter. Quarterback Connor Bazelak threw his 4th pick in the last 3 games, all in the fourth quarter. So it's just crazy how 1 or 2 plays makes a huge difference between a win and a loss.
As much as college football and football in general has changed and evolved, coaches will still tell you it comes down to running the ball. You've got to be able to run the ball. You've got to be able to stop the run, and that's 2 areas where the Falcons have struggled this season.
Yeah, definitely struggled a lot, especially run defense. They given up at least 180 yards in all 4 games. I think they're one of the worst ranked run defenses in the country. And granted, they've faced some outstanding running backs, outstanding running teams, huge offensive lines, but can't stop the run. And you know, Old Dominion's backup quarterback was a very mobile quarterback, very fast, and he just torched BG with his legs, especially that last drive, the game-winning drive. And on the flip side, I mean, the last 2 weeks, BG has been completely ineffective running the ball. You know, they did great against Penn State. I think a big part of it is missing one of the offensive linemen, Nick Reimer, who was injured in the Texas A&M game. He missed the Old Dominion game as well. I think they're hoping to have him back soon, but, you know, that's just kind of a combination in the run game between maybe a couple injuries. And I mean, Old Dominion had Terrion Stewart completely bottled up. He only had about 2 or 3 significant runs. Jason Patterson had a really good series, had a good touchdown run. But overall, BG's been held below 100 rushing yards the last 2 games, and that is not going to get it done either.
Now it's time for our weekly Let's Sing the Praises of Harold Fannin Jr., as he's once again the MAC Offensive Player of the Week. He is earning more and more national accolades, and as you know, 1-3, imagine what they'd be without Fannin.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where they'd be without him. What he's doing is simply sensational. 12 catches, 188 yards, and 2 outstanding touchdowns against Old Dominion. I mean, both were career highs. He set a career high in receiving yards each of the last 3 games. For the season, he had 37 catches, 537 yards, 4 touchdowns in 4 games. Number 6 overall in the country among all players in receptions and receiving yards, leads FBS tight ends in those categories by a very wide margin. His hands, I mean, they're glue. I mean, every catch that he makes, it's either over the shoulder, it's a fingertip catch, it's something that someone maybe of his size and everything maybe doesn't make very often. But I mean, his awareness, his hands are just so outstanding. And I mean, he put an outstanding move on a secondary player to get open for his first touchdown, and made a great second touchdown along the sideline. I mean, we just can't talk about him enough, what he's doing right now. And BG absolutely is going to have to find ways to get him the ball, even when teams are going to double and probably triple team him.
Yeah, so the Falcons hit the road this week, first MAC game, as they head over to Akron. Akron, like BG, one win. Only win for both programs came against FCS foes, as Akron got the win over Colgate. And like Bowling Green, the Zips have played a tough schedule. Losses to a couple Big Ten schools, lost to South Carolina. They are coming off a loss to Ohio last week in their MAC opener.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously just a brutal schedule that they've had, and you know, they're at home. You know, BG, I mean, you're in a must-win position, and you know, BG's kind of viewing this as, you know, the first 4 games were kind of like a preseason. You know, their main goal is still right in front of them. Their main goal this season is to win the MAC. It wasn't to, as great as it would have been for them to beat Penn State and A&M, the goal this season was not that. So all of their goals are still right in front of them. They're 0-0 in the MAC. This is a brand new kind of season for them, and we'll see if they did enough, you know, in non-conference play to prepare them for MAC play.
Is this game coming at a good time for the Falcons?
I think so. I think you know, last year, remember, it was kind of interesting. They had a flip-flop back and forth between the non-conference and conference. They got beaten up by Michigan. Then you play Ohio the next week. Then Georgia Tech, they win big, and then they're at Miami, lose that game really bad as well. So I think they're excited that they can just shift their entire focus to the MAC and to Akron, and you know, just kind of put the 4 weeks behind them.
All right, so the Falcons and Zips Saturday afternoon affair in Northeast Ohio. I want to thank our guest Michael Burwell from the Toledo Blade for joining us and providing some insight onto this Falcon program.
Thank you.